Lewis Hamilton has won the first battle against Charles Leclerc by more than 1 second in the Bahrain tests. Stay until the end to see his surprising reaction. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. The second morning session of pre-season testing in Bahrain has come to an end, and it was nothing short of a spectacle. From dramatic weather changes to standout performances and technical mishaps that sent teams scrambling for solutions, the session had everything that makes Formula One testing so compelling. While these test sessions do not award points, they are crucial in shaping the trajectory of a team season, offering a first true glimpse of what each team has under the hood before the lights go out for the first Grand Prix. The atmosphere in the paddock was tense yet electric, as engineers, mechanics, and drivers pushed their machines to the limit, searching for that extra ounce of performance that could make the difference between success and failure in the upcoming season. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Heading into the session, one of the biggest talking points was the looming possibility of rain. The forecasts had hinted at the arrival of light showers, an unusual but not unprecedented occurrence in the Bahraini desert. Sure enough, as the morning progressed, dark clouds loomed over the circuit, and a brief spell of rain fell over the track. However, the showers were far from a torrential downpour. The track surface became slightly damp but never reached a point where full wet tires were necessary. The intense desert sun quickly began evaporating the moisture, and within a short span of time, the circuit was back to optimal conditions. The biggest surprise of the session in response to the rain came from Haas, who were the only team bold enough to send their car out on intermediate tires. While their decision was ultimately unnecessary, as the track dried up quickly, it did provide the team with an opportunity to gather data on tire behavior under slightly damp conditions, something that could prove useful in future races where variable weather conditions come into play. Despite the brief weather disruption, the session largely remained a battle of pure performance, and once again, it was Lewis Hamilton who made headlines. The 7-time world champion appeared to be in strong form, delivering an impressive fastest lap of the morning session, further reinforcing the notion that Mercedes has come into this test with a clear intent to return to winning ways. Hamilton's pace was not just about setting a headline-grabbing time, it was the consistency of his runs, the way he extracted speed lap after lap, that made his performance all the more ominous for his rivals. The Mercedes W15 looked stable, planted, and well-balanced, particularly in the high-speed sections where the team had struggled in previous seasons. Observers noted that Hamilton was able to carry significantly more speed through turn 11 than some of his competitors, suggesting that the team has made crucial gains in aerodynamics and mechanical grip. However, not every team had a smooth and productive session. One of the biggest disappointments of the morning was the situation in the Aston Martin garage. The team suffered a frustrating delay due to mechanical issues that kept their car in the garage for over an hour. The exact nature of the problem was not immediately clear, but sources within the team suggested it was related to a hydraulic issue that required extensive work before the car could be sent back out on track. Losing such a significant amount of track time during testing is never ideal, as every lap counts when it comes to refining setups, understanding tire behavior, and collecting valuable performance data. Aston Martin's engineers and mechanics worked frantically to resolve the issue, and when the car finally returned to the circuit, it was up to Fernando Alonso to make the most of the remaining time. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Alonso, true to his reputation as one of the most relentless and determined drivers on the grid, wasted no time in getting to work. Despite the lost time, he managed to complete his scheduled testing program, focusing heavily on long-run simulations in the final hour of the session. His ability to quickly adapt and extract performance from the car was evident, as he set consistently strong lap times even in the middle of high-fuel runs. This data will be crucial for Aston Martin as they continue to analyze their race pace, tire degradation patterns, and overall car behavior under race conditions. While the morning session was far from ideal for the team, Alonso's mileage at least provided some valuable insights that the engineers can dissect in the coming hours. Elsewhere on the grid, other teams were executing their own meticulously planned testing programs. Red Bull, as expected, was not chasing outright lap times but instead appeared to be focused on gathering as much long-run data as possible. Max Verstappen, the reigning world champion, was methodical in his approach, logging a series of consistent lap times that suggested the team was prioritizing race simulations over single-lap speed. Observers noted that Verstappen's car looked incredibly stable through both slow and high-speed corners, reinforcing the belief that Red Bull's RB21 is once again a formidable machine. The team was also experimenting with different rear wing configurations throughout the session, indicating that they are still fine-tuning their aerodynamic package to maximize efficiency and downforce balance. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Ferrari, on the other hand, had a mixed session. Charles Leclerc showed glimpses of strong pace, setting competitive lap times that kept him near the top of the timing charts. However, there were visible signs that the team was still battling some setup inconsistencies. On multiple occasions, Leclerc was seen correcting oversteer mid-corner, particularly through turn 8 and turn 13, suggesting that the balance of the car was not yet dialed in to perfection. Ferrari's engineers were hard at work making continuous adjustments to the setup, with multiple pit stops dedicated to fine-tuning suspension settings and aerodynamic configurations. The Scuderia strategy seemed to be focused on gathering as much data as possible on how the car reacts to different setups, rather than outright performance runs. Further down the order, teams like McLaren and Alpine were quietly going about their business, completing a steady number of laps without drawing too much attention to themselves. McLaren's Lando Norris was seen conducting multiple medium fuel runs, seemingly testing different tire compounds and degradation rates. Meanwhile, Alpine's testing program appeared to be focused on reliability, as they logged a high number of laps without encountering major issues. The French team, however, remains somewhat of an enigma, as their overall pace remains difficult to judge based on the times they set during the session. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Pre-season testing is always a game of chess, with each team executing their strategies carefully, revealing only what they want to reveal while keeping their true performance levels under wraps. Some teams will intentionally run with higher fuel loads to disguise their true speed, while others might opt to set fast laps purely to send a psychological message to their rivals. The challenge for analysts and fans alike is to decipher the real pecking order from the smokescreen that teams often deploy. While it is far too early to draw definitive conclusions, today's session has already provided key insights into where each team stands. The afternoon session promises even more intrigue, as teams continue pushing the limits of their machines in preparation for the highly anticipated season opener. With just days remaining before the first Grand Prix of the year, the stakes could not be higher. Every lap turned, every piece of data collected, and every adjustment made in these testing sessions could be the difference between standing on the podium or struggling in the midfield once the season begins. The battle lines are being drawn, and if this morning session was any indication, we are in for an incredibly competitive and unpredictable season ahead. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Red Bull's pre-season testing program, which had been running with its usual level of precision and efficiency, hit an unexpected snag that momentarily disrupted their otherwise smooth preparations for the upcoming season. The team, which has been the gold standard for consistency and performance over the past few years, encountered cooling issues that forced them to halt their session prematurely, leaving valuable testing time on the table. Liam Lawson, who was behind the wheel for this particular session, was left waiting in the garage for the final hour of the morning, unable to put in the laps necessary to extract crucial data that the team was hoping to analyze. In a sport where every millisecond matters, and where testing is the only opportunity to gather real-world information before the high-pressure environment of race weekends, losing an hour on track is never ideal, especially for a team that thrives on maximizing every moment of running to perfect their setup and gain an edge over the competition. For Red Bull, this hiccup is unlikely to spell any long-term trouble. The team has built a reputation for exceptional problem-solving abilities, and their engineers are among the best in the business when it comes to diagnosing and resolving technical issues swiftly. Still, seeing a Red Bull car idle in the garage during a session when every other competitor was logging laps was an unusual sight, one that caught the attention of both rival teams and keen-eyed observers. Red Bull's dominance over the past seasons has been largely attributed not just to their aerodynamic prowess and superior race strategy, but also to their almost unshakable reliability, which has allowed them to execute their race plans with unwavering consistency. Any hint of technical trouble, no matter how small, raises questions about whether their supremacy might be challenged this year in ways that were not initially expected. Of course, it's important to maintain perspective. One cooling issue in testing is hardly a catastrophe, and if any team can iron out such a problem quickly, it's Red Bull. However, this does highlight an interesting aspect of pre-season testing that often goes unnoticed. While outright lap times are important, reliability and uninterrupted running can often be just as crucial, if not more so. When teams experience setbacks like this, they aren't just losing track time, they are also losing opportunities to fine-tune their understanding of tire behavior, fuel load effects, and how the car handles over long runs, all factors that could play a decisive role once the season begins. While Red Bull's technical glitch was a rare sight, the real shock of testing has been the astonishing pace and stability of Williams, a team that, not too long ago, was considered little more than a backmarker, fighting just to stay in the mix for points finishes on rare occasions. Their performance so far has been nothing short of revelatory, with their car demonstrating a level of consistency that has caught the attention of the entire paddock. The biggest difference seems to be their ability to carry speed through corners without suffering from the unpredictability that has plagued them in previous years. In past seasons, Williams struggled significantly with rear instability, often leaving their drivers battling against their own machinery just to keep the car under control. But now, the balance of the car appears to have improved dramatically, giving their drivers the confidence to push harder without fear of sudden snaps of oversteer or a lack of rear-end grip. This newfound stability has translated into surprisingly competitive lap times, with Williams emerging as a team that is not just scraping into Q2 but potentially aiming for Q3 on a regular basis, a prospect that would have seemed almost unthinkable just a couple of years ago. One of the most fascinating aspects of their resurgence is how it could reshape the ever-tightening midfield battle. In recent years, the midfield has been an unpredictable war zone, with teams like Aston Martin, Alpine, and McLaren frequently swapping places as they fight to establish themselves as best of the rest behind the top teams. Now, with Williams making such visible progress, the dynamic of this group could shift dramatically. Teams that previously felt secure in their mid-table status may now have to reassess their expectations, realizing that Williams is no longer a team they can take for granted. If this form carries over into the race weekends, it could mean unexpected shakeups in qualifying sessions and race strategies, with Williams emerging as a genuine threat to teams that once considered them easy competition. Of course, one of the biggest questions surrounding their performance is sustainability. Can they maintain this level of competitiveness across different circuits, varying track conditions, and the intense wear and tear of a full race calendar? Testing is one thing, but translating strong single-lap pace into effective race day execution is a different challenge altogether. While their car appears to have made significant strides in terms of outright speed, race pace, tire management, and adaptability to changing conditions will be the true test of whether Williams has genuinely broken out of their previous struggles. Another factor to consider is development throughout the season. The teams at the front of the grid, like Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari, are known for their relentless pursuit of in-season upgrades, constantly evolving their cars to maintain and extend their competitive edge. For Williams, keeping up with this aggressive development pace will be crucial. Even if they start the season strong, they will need to ensure that they have the financial resources, technical expertise, and upgrade strategy to stay competitive as the year progresses. As pre-season testing nears its conclusion, teams are entering the final phase of their preparations, fine-tuning setups, analyzing collected data, and addressing any lingering issues before the first race weekend arrives. Red Bull, despite their minor cooling setback, remains the team to beat, and their ability to quickly resolve technical problems means they are unlikely to be significantly hampered by this incident. Meanwhile, Williams' rise is one of the most compelling storylines of testing so far, a narrative that has added a fresh layer of intrigue to what was already shaping up to be a fascinating season. If their newfound pace proves to be more than just a testing anomaly, they could emerge as one of the biggest surprises of the year, challenging the established order and injecting an extra dose of unpredictability into the 2025 Formula One campaign. Haas and Sauber find themselves trapped in a vicious cycle, one that has played out for far too many seasons now. Once again, during pre-season testing, they appear to be stuck at the bottom of the timesheets, unable to escape the gravitational pull of mediocrity that has plagued them in recent years. While there is always a degree of caution when analyzing testing times, given the multitude of factors that can influence performance, such as varying fuel loads, different tire compounds, track evolution, and unique testing programs, there comes a point where optimism must be tempered with realism. And right now, reality is looking rather bleak for these two teams. For Haas, this is a continuation of a deeply frustrating trend. Every year, the American outfit enters preseason with hopes that they have finally turned the corner, that this will be the year they make a genuine step forward and establish themselves as a consistent midfield contender rather than a backmarker fighting for scraps. Yet, season after season, those hopes are dashed as soon as the first race weekend arrives. It is a story that has played out too many times for comfort, and unfortunately, early signs suggest that 2024 may be no different. The root of Haas's problems is multifaceted. Unlike many of their rivals, they operate under a unique model, relying heavily on a partnership with Ferrari for components rather than manufacturing everything in-house. While this approach allows them to save on costs and benefit from Ferrari's technical expertise, it also limits their ability to develop their car independently. When Ferrari is strong, Haas tends to benefit. But when Ferrari struggles or focuses on its own development path, Haas is often left trailing behind with limited resources to bridge the gap. Then there is the issue of their in-season development. Historically, Haas has been known for starting the year with a relatively competitive car before gradually slipping backward as the season progresses. A lack of updates, budget constraints, and operational inefficiencies have all contributed to this trend, and unless something drastic is changed over the winter break, there is little reason to believe 2024 will be any different. If they do not find a way to break this cycle, they risk spending yet another year locked in battles at the back of the grid, fighting just to make it out of Q1 rather than challenging for points on a regular basis. Sauber's situation, while similar in terms of testing struggles, carries its own set of concerns. This is a team in transition, one that is supposed to be laying the foundation for a brighter future as it prepares for its full transformation into Audi in 2026. Given the massive investment and strategic overhaul that comes with such a transition, one might have expected to see some early signs of progress, a glimpse of the potential that could define their future as a works team. Instead, what we have seen so far in testing suggests they may have actually taken a step backward. The concern for Sauber is not just that they are slow, but that they do not seem to have a clear path forward. Are they struggling due to a fundamental design flaw in the car? Are they running a conservative program that does not reflect their true pace? Or more worryingly, are they simply falling behind in the development race against teams with greater resources and more refined operational structures? Whatever the case may be, the early signs are not encouraging. If they do not have a hidden ace up their sleeve, they could be in for a long and painful season, one that tests not just their patience but their entire long-term vision. Meanwhile, in stark contrast to the struggles of Haas and Sauber, McLaren has taken a completely different approach to pre-season testing. Unlike some teams that have shown their hand early, McLaren has chosen to operate in near-total stealth mode, revealing as little as possible about their true performance potential. It is a strategy they have employed in the past, and if history is any indication, it may very well be a sign that they have something significant in reserve. McLaren's testing runs have been methodical, precise, and free from unnecessary drama. No eye-catching times, no headline-grabbing moments, just steady, consistent mileage. This could mean one of two things: either they are genuinely struggling to extract performance from their car, or they are deliberately hiding their true capabilities. Given what we saw last season, the latter seems far more likely. In 2023, McLaren followed a similar pattern. Their early season form was lackluster, and for a moment, it seemed as though they had taken a step backward. But as the season progressed, they unleashed a series of upgrades that transformed their car into one of the most competitive machines on the grid. By the latter half of the season, they were regularly challenging for podiums and, on occasion, even pushing Red Bull in certain race conditions. If they have built upon that momentum, there is every reason to believe they could emerge as a serious force in 2024. Another factor working in McLaren's favor is their driver lineup. Lando Norris has established himself as one of the most talented drivers on the grid, consistently extracting the maximum from his machinery and demonstrating an ability to deliver under pressure. Alongside him, Oscar Piastri proved in his rookie season that he is not just another promising young talent, but a legitimate star in the making. With a strong lineup and what appears to be a well-structured development plan, McLaren could be in a prime position to take another significant step forward. The big question, however, is whether they have done enough to challenge the established frontrunners. Red Bull remains the team to beat, Ferrari appears to have made improvements, and Mercedes, despite some inconsistencies, still possesses the technical firepower to be a contender. If McLaren wants to insert itself into that conversation, they will need to ensure that their early season form is strong enough to keep them in the fight from the very beginning. Pre-season testing is always a game of deception. Some teams push hard for performance, eager to make a statement before the season even begins. Others hold back, preferring to keep their competitors guessing. And then there are those, like Haas and Sauber, who simply do not have the luxury of playing mind games. They are just trying to survive. For now, everything remains speculative. The real answers will only come once the lights go out for the first race of the season. But based on what we have seen so far, the early indications are clear. McLaren is lurking in the shadows, Haas and Sauber are struggling to find a way forward, and the rest of the grid is preparing for what could be one of the most competitive seasons in recent memory. Whether the testing pecking order translates to race day reality remains to be seen, but one thing is certain: some teams will be celebrating when the truth is revealed, while others will be scrambling to pick up the pieces. The morning session delivered one of the most captivating battles seen in pre-race preparations this season, as Mercedes and Ferrari engaged in an intense duel for the top of the timing sheets. From the moment the track went green, it was evident that neither team was willing to hold back, both desperate to establish themselves as the leading contender to challenge Red Bull's dominance. Every sector, every braking zone, and every exit out of the corners became a battleground as the drivers pushed their machines to the very limits of performance, searching for every last ounce of speed. The tension was palpable, the timesheets constantly changing as each new lap seemed to set the benchmark even higher. At the heart of this high-speed chess match was Lewis Hamilton, who appeared to be driving with a renewed sense of purpose. The seven-time world champion has seen his fair share of challenges in the last 2 seasons, but today, there was something different about his approach. From the moment he rolled out of the garage, his intent was clear: he wanted to prove that Mercedes was back in the mix. Every lap he put together carried an air of confidence, precision, and raw speed. The W15, which has undergone significant changes compared to its predecessor, responded well to his inputs, allowing him to push the limits in ways that were simply not possible at the start of last season. As the lap times tumbled, it became a direct head-to-head contest with Ferrari, as both teams took turns at the top of the leaderboard. Ferrari, on their part, were equally relentless. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz took turns delivering blistering laps, each shaving off precious tenths in an effort to assert Ferrari's authority as Red Bull's main challenger. The SF24, a machine built with the singular goal of erasing the inconsistencies of last year's campaign, appeared planted, stable, and much more predictable in its handling. The data coming from their onboard telemetry suggested a car that was not only fast in one-lap pace, but also showed promising signs of consistency over longer stints. For much of the session, it seemed as if Ferrari might hold the upper hand. Every time Hamilton or his teammate George Russell threatened to snatch the top spot, the Scuderia would fire back with another purple sector, keeping the battle as tight as ever. The back-and-forth nature of the session made it clear that the margins at the top of the grid were razor-thin, and any slight miscalculation in braking, acceleration, or tire management could make the difference between P1 and P4. But when it mattered most, Hamilton delivered. As the clock ticked down and the track reached its optimum performance window, he unleashed a lap that sent shockwaves through the paddock. Through the first sector, he was already on pace with the very best Ferrari had produced. By the time he reached the second split, he had gained time, finding speed in areas where others struggled. And then came the final sector, a part of the track where mechanical grip, aerodynamic efficiency, and driver confidence all converge into one decisive moment. Hamilton nailed it. As he crossed the line, the timing screens lit up, fastest overall. The significance of his lap was immediately apparent. Analysts quickly pulled up data from last year's qualifying session at the circuit, and the numbers told a compelling story. Had Hamilton posted this exact lap during last season's qualifying, he would have secured a front-row start. That is an extraordinary improvement, not just for Hamilton as a driver, but for Mercedes as a whole. It is a testament to the relentless development work the team has put in over the winter break, addressing the weaknesses that plagued them in previous seasons. Now, the big question remains: can Mercedes translate this impressive one-lap speed into race-winning performance? While topping a practice session is an encouraging sign, Formula One is a sport where single-lap pace and race pace can sometimes tell very different stories. Last season, Mercedes often found themselves competitive over one lap, only to struggle with tire degradation, race pace, and overall balance when it mattered most. However, early indications suggest that the W15 is not just quick over a single lap, but also significantly more manageable over long runs. If this performance is a genuine indication of their progress, then Red Bull supremacy might not be as unchallenged as it was last year. It is still too early to draw definitive conclusions, but the signs are promising. Mercedes seem to have found a balance that allows them to extract performance in both qualifying and race conditions. Hamilton's feedback over the radio was telling. He sounded encouraged, even excited, about the potential of the car. He reported good front-end response, improved rotation in slow-speed corners, and a much more predictable rear end, all of which were key weaknesses in last year's package. For the rest of the grid, this could signal the beginning of a much tighter battle at the front. Ferrari will undoubtedly respond, as they too showed strong performance throughout the session. Red Bull, though not as dominant on the timesheets today, will still be the team to beat when the race weekend truly begins. But if today's practice session is anything to go by, we may finally have a season where the fight at the front is not just a one-team show. As the sun set on the session, the buzz around the paddock was unmistakable. Mercedes, after a challenging couple of years, might just be back in the title conversation. Hamilton's performance was a reminder that even after all these years, his hunger for victory remains as strong as ever. And if this was just the opening chapter of the season, then what comes next promises to be an unforgettable battle for supremacy in Formula One. Ferrari has unequivocally proclaimed that the days of tentative, half-hearted endeavors are irrevocably behind us, and with the awe-inspiring emergence of the SF25, a thunderous testament to engineering genius, the Italian powerhouse sends shockwaves through the racing world. This magnificent machine is not merely a car, it is a symphony of cutting-edge technology, timeless craftsmanship, and a relentless drive that encapsulates decades of heritage and innovation. Every meticulously sculpted curve and every precisely calibrated component radiates a fervent promise. A promise of unyielding passion, unparalleled performance, and an insatiable hunger to ascend to the very pinnacle of motorsport glory. As the SF25 roars to life, its engine's sonorous growl melds with the heartbeat of fans worldwide, evoking memories of legendary triumphs while simultaneously heralding a future replete with exhilarating challenges and unprecedented victories. In the charged atmosphere of the upcoming season, this extraordinary vehicle emerges as an emblem of ambition and audacity. Its debut is a stirring declaration that mediocrity has no sanctuary on the racetrack, and that every atom of its design has been infused with a spirit of innovation so potent it promises to revolutionize the art of racing. The SF25's sleek, aerodynamic contours and state-of-the-art systems are the culmination of relentless research and visionary engineering, representing a perfect confluence of tradition and avant-garde technology. It is a manifestation of a dream that refuses to compromise, a dream where every millimeter of form and function is honed to perfection, designed not only to outpace its rivals but to redefine the very parameters of excellence. The path ahead bristles with formidable obstacles and electrifying uncertainties, each race poised to be a breathtaking ballet of precision, speed, and tactical brilliance. Every twist of the circuit, every daring overtake, and every split-second decision on the track will be a testament to the invincible spirit that Ferrari embodies. The upcoming season is anticipated to be a relentless odyssey filled with high-stakes drama and edge-of-your-seat moments that transcend the ordinary, capturing the raw, unfiltered essence of what it means to compete at the highest level. Here, innovation collides with tradition, and technology meets tenacity, creating a dynamic arena where each lap is not merely a measure of time but a pulse in the lifeblood of competitive racing. This bold new chapter is more than just a series of races. It is an immersive experience that promises to redefine perceptions, ignite passions, and shatter preconceived notions of what is possible on a racetrack. As the SF25 tears down the straights with a vigor that seems almost otherworldly, it carries with it an energy that is as contagious as it is formidable. The sheer spectacle of its performance, from the scintillating interplay of light and shadow on its sleek surfaces to the visceral sound of its engine in full-throttle symphony, captivates both the eye and the soul. It is a clarion call to all who have ever been enchanted by the thrill of speed, a call to witness history being written in real time, where every race is a canvas painted with strokes of daring innovation and relentless perseverance. Amidst the roar of engines and the electric atmosphere of anticipation, the SF25 stands as a beacon of defiance against the ordinary. It is a bold manifesto of Ferrari's commitment to excellence, a commitment that is as deeply rooted in the annals of motorsport history as it is driven by a vision for a future where every challenge is met with ingenuity and every victory is celebrated with unbridled joy. With each rev and every pulse of its dynamic power, the SF25 not only reaffirms Ferrari's storied legacy, but also paves the way for a future where the boundaries of speed, precision, and performance are continuously reimagined. This is not just the start of another racing season, it is the inception of a transformative era, a journey that will captivate the imagination, test the limits of human and machine, and ultimately redefine the very essence of what it means to race.